Incremental Writings. So, today I'm going to react to the third video from James about the incremental writing commentary. This video is a lot shorter than the previous two, just 18 minutes. I have seen more or less a third of this video just today to more or less see the structure and how to make my reaction, let's say, how to add my 2 cents. So basically, I'm not going to say anything about the idea behind the society as a concept network, and I will focus on the usage of Supermemo instead. So let's do that.
Hi guys, so I'm going to be starting out today just by copying up a couple of notes I made. One is on society as a concept network, which is an idea of what is, and the second one is called microeconomics of the concept network. And so
Okay, so first, that was one voice event in the Supermemo Wiki Discord server with Andy. It was in October 2020. It's been almost 4 years about that. He created the concept just for this, society as a concept network. Then he has the notes of this event, and he created a folder called tasks because it's his convention. I'm pretty sure that he will create topics below the tasks, as a very temporary task. That why a topic instead of a task? Because in Supermemo there's an element type for tasks, because it's very volatile. It will be done in a very short period of time, so it's not. It's acting a reminder, like a checkbox kind of thing. So just the name and its existence in the knowledge tree, that's enough. Then you just remove it, delete it, nothing else, done. So let's see how he proceeds with this. We already have a spoiler, that is that he's struggling. So, could be a good example when you struggle with some subject or topic with incremental writing. There's no one unique solution, by the way. Let's see.
So I'll just show you the notes. Yeah.
Well, too low res. But at least I can know that he still takes handwritten notes. I know people like this, and I think it will be most. I would say that there will be more people like this that they want handwritten notes than the opposite. That, bro, it's the 21st century. The limitations of paper are massive. That's not a discussion for this video. But just to note, no pun intended, that he has taken notes in Supermemo and handwritten. So let's see what is his actual flow.
And I think what I'm going to do is just get straight into copying these up and allow future.
Copying this out. So I'm assuming he means by typing this to the computer, perhaps with OCR, manually, I don't know, it's already there. So unless he mentions this, we don't know. But at the very least, we know that it's first on paper, and then it's electronically, in this case in Supermemo. So it's okay if you don't want to use Supermemo. I won't do it even myself, but use Notion or something like that, not pen and paper. It's so dramatically inefficient.
To me, with the benefit of hindsight, to sort of explain actually what it is I'm doing. So I'm just going to get straight into it.
Alright guys, so in my opinion today's session didn't go very well. I was basically just trying to...
Which, by the way, we have an example of each. Last session that was quite longer, edited within an hour, but was beyond that. It was a very successful, a very, we could say satisfactory and successful session. And in this case, it will be the opposite.
riff on was...
What he just did there. What is this, the plan 2 and the timestamp? This is when you don't have a title. One of the ways to create this is with right-click and create new topic.
This didn't go very well. I was basically just trying to...
Here you go. I didn't catch it, by the way. It's because I know how it is, not because I see it in this frame. This is not something you want to do in Supermemo, or you want to minimize this, because there are many bugs or non-implementations. So it will become templateless and many things. So what I prefer to use, my convention, is I don't make any exception. So what I do, So let's say it's here. New topic. Hey, it's a child, right? It goes there where I want it. What I'm not sure now if I get the sources. Let's check that. Source none. So not just because it's below that topic, that oh my god, dynamicism, that is meaningless. This topic is not a child of this. So it's physically a child now because I have it here, as I could move it there. But not because it's here now, it's a child of this. It's physically a child. But what I mean is if I make an extract, it's a child, yes, but also look at this. Article comes from this article and has this concept, right? Other than that, if I open this in the browser, I can go child and sources. And I can locate the actual source of that topic. What will happen with this? Let's try. If you remember, was this weird word, dynamicism. Let's open this with a browser. Same thing. Sources. The source is itself. So if you move this thing around, it will be lost. There's no semantic connection as a parent and child. It is just physical. On top of that, no group, no concept. So even if I put it inside the cognition, and the parent actually had the cognition, it's not inherited either. And since the concept is not set, as a consequence, I cannot auto-apply the template via the concept. So I only have the physical relationship of being a child, and that's about it. It's a big limitation. To make things easier, what I suggest to do is I want to be a child like this. I create my own words, and I just did an extract. And then in this extract, I can just continue and so on. If I want to do this preemptively, because I want to take notes of an event or something like that hey, I want to have this ahead of time, I have, again, my convention. So I navigate back, and I will just extract and a space. It's super pointless, but it's enough that creates everything I want. I have the article, template, I have the concept, I have the metadata and the relationship of parent and source. If I want to know the source within Supermemo, if you remember that we did it, even if I don't rename it, it's blank, because I just extracted a white space. If I open this to the browser, I can still locate the source. This could also be true for tasks. He has tasks. He's going to do it, not yet. He had this. This is a more meaningful example. So, a folder. Society as a concept network. Now I convert it with Ctrl-K into a concept. How I do it now? Well, a concept is just an element. If you create concepts like this, it's dismissed already. So in Supermemo, it's actually cheating. So instead of, when you create the element right away, it creates the element and then dismisses it in a split second. Even if for the user is one action. That means that at the end of the day, it's a concept. It's an element with something else, with more attributes. That means that I can apply a template. Even if it's dismissed, I can apply the template. Yeah, it says element type mismatch. I don't care. I can force this. And now will be tasks, extract. Here you go. Now I have the tasks folder. Well, it's not a folder, it's a topic. Easy. I click on it, or I navigate, Alt left, and now Ctrl D. Now I have the topic. That is a as I wanted, a folder, but is semantically related to the concept. It's not just below it. Also, keep in mind what I just did. That's very, very counterintuitive in Supermemo. Look at this. The task A has no concept group. Why on earth? Because inherits the parent where you have extracted the element you extracted from it, and it's itself. Usually, the concept element does not have itself as a concept registry member, but it's possible to do so. So that's the element, that is a concept, as a group, and I can set Ctrl-Shift-P, Alt-G, and I can set the same concept. In my case, it's the last one. Cannot move element onto itself. Why? Because this is the hook. No worries. That doesn't mean I'm doing something it's not intended to. It's because in this case, it's the hook. If I could have done the same here. Child, which I suggest because the tasks has no concept yet. So you process the browser, you go to set concept group, society, and now only one change because I already set the concept. This is even better because you will also apply itself. Nice. That means that from now on, everything I do, I will also carry on the concept. What else he has? Original source of the idea. Okay. Original source of the idea. I don't even care about the cosmetics here because this is temporary. It's for the sake of creating children. I extract, and here you go. And if I really want, I can dismiss it. He doesn't have this dismissed. And then now, if this goes elsewhere, in Google Docs, Notion, whatever that is, Discord, I just copy my clipboard, and that's it. I will paste it here. Let me see. I will use this document as an example. Question 1, question 2. So let's say that's what my notes. So I just paste that. Cool. And then I can make the extra, I can do whatever I want. But this is very semantic. Everything is connected. This is a child of this. That means that even if I move this around, I can still get to link. Where this comes from, where this was extracted from, and so on. It's a massive detail. That's why I'm spending time with this. Because I'm not sure if he just has this flow or he's not aware of that. But this, with time, you'll have so many topics that have no source, are in your collection, and you will rely only physically where they are. So this also will take a toll on the neural review, by the way.
Riff on was it society as a concept network idea. I first came across this idea when I was interviewing Andy Matuszak maybe 4 months ago.
Matuszak. Oh, I will try to pronounce it right. Andy Matuszak.
Maybe 4 months ago with Xander. And
Xander.
The final question we asked to him was...
Xander is a close friend of his that he does the Golden Nuggets podcast.
One that had been submitted by Was. And it was about his new...
When he say was, he means Piotr Woźniak, or pronounce it in Polish, Piotr Woźniak. Usually in the community, we just say was. Or as I said, was. Perhaps it's not the best pronunciation, but it's how I pronounce it intuitively. But now I noticed recently that some native English speakers, they do an open R, an open O, was, not was, because you can confuse this with the past of to be.
New idea of society as a concept network, and I'll just play that section for...
Something weird in Supermemo. So what happened? Look at this. It's still a placeholder. The title is a placeholder. In case you don't know, Supermemo will use the starting text of the first component, because you can have more than one component. So the first that is either text, the ancient, please don't use it, rich text, or just plain text, which you could use if you want. The first, whatever of those three types, the first one in the order, it will be used for the title until some character length. I don't know, it's 255, something like that, and then you have 3 dots. But for whatever reason, when you have the placeholder and you start typing, it doesn't update at all. Once you do click away something, you load some other element, this will update in the user interface. It's very weird.
From the interview to you now, and you can check out the whole interview if you're interested. I'll put a link in the description, and I'll also include some show notes.
We saved the best till last.
Oh wow, that was loud.
It is a bit of a wacky one.
Great.
It's about a new idea he'd been working on. He'd been discussing it with friends, and I guess I'll just quote literally what he said.
Sure.
I just spoke with friends about converting the whole operation of humanity into a huge concept network. People would operate as neurons.
By the way, what he's saying is, this is the recorded audio from the event, I think. We have this in text before. Exactly. The needs, define their interests, and define their capacities. You will be organized into a different network of cooperation and knowledge exchange. We need software infrastructure to implement. What do you think, Andy? I'm not sure, but I think the idea is original from him. Original source of the idea was Piotr Wozniak. This was covered, I think, covered or at least mentioned in every single Supermemo anniversary event. So he has the opinion of Woz. Then he has these two Andys. And then he has his own. So it's like you build this idea from different inputs. Regardless of the idea, so this is society is a concept network. It's not limited to this. Is that, okay, you have an author with a model, another author with a different model, they do overlap, or they are complementary of each other, or at least they are related at some degree. But it's not an universal truth. It's just a model or an idea. So sometimes you can have make your own learning from different points of view. Not just, I have one article, I will just make the extracts and consolidations of that author. Like it's the universal truth. Is according to this model, what is pam? According to this author, so according to us, what is blah 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 blah. According to Andes, or how Andes sees the Wozniak model, blah 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 blah. In case you really are interested in memorizing this, which sometimes could be the case.
I was basically just trying to add a month of you to you now to include some show notes.
By the way, he's using Paint 3D. It's ironic, I always still use just Paint.
So it's a pretty interesting up with a bunch of associations related to that quite wacky.
And what he's going to do is like some kind of diagram, something that is more visually communicating the idea instead of a huge paragraph. It's very cool. If you use other tool, can be Excalidraw or any other tool, but just plain and simple Paint actually works. The only difference is that if you want to build on this incrementally, you may want to be able to edit every time. So if you do just an image, and a static image, it's not as easy to edit. Yes, you can always add content on top of it. You can always add content on top of it, but you cannot remove place as easy as if it was editable. Like a Miro board, Excalidraw, or whatever.
Wacky question that was thinking about how do ideas sort of propagate between the different nodes in the network, and this society as a concept network idea and the interactions of the nodes. There must be some sort of underlying framework.
Yeah, remember, I'm not going to discuss the actual idea of the society as a concept network. Now I think he wants to paste this in Supermemo is one option if you use a clipboard. Supermemo will ask you, hey, do you want to add an image component in case your template doesn't have an image component? Or you can also add it by Ctrl Q through the navigating the menus if you want a lossless image. Because if you use your clipboard, it will be compressed. For his drawing, I think it doesn't matter. So you really want simplicity, quickness, even if you lose some quality.
Guiding the interactions of the node.
Okay, so he wanted to add an image. I don't know if he has an auto hotkey script for this. Unless he wants to remap the hotkey, it's just Alt Q. There's nothing else than that. Control Q, sorry, Control Q.
Nodes guiding their decisions to allocate attention.
And how he does at hotkey is that he have isolated scripts. Instead of having one master file that perhaps you want to modulate this. So this file also imports other files, as I do.
To different ideas, or
Let's see.
whether to substitute their own.
Not bad. Okay. No environment, no warning, send input, and start working there. Okay. I'm pretty sure he will have this in every single AutoHotkey. He's including something. Okay. Supermemo shortcut, hotkey scripts, Supermemo lib. Okay. I'm not sure what he has there. And it's just this. As simple as that. That's why I don't get why he prefers to have AutoHotkey scripts by function. So activate content window, false, false, send Alt C. When we're active, wait for the windows to be active. T contents, that is the contents window. Where you have the knowledge tree. This one in the middle. Wait this for be active and then send Alt ECI. What is this? So I'm here. I need to press escape now. Then Alt C. This makes the knowledge tree active and it's telling me where it is in the knowledge tree. If I have this like that, the knowledge tree uncollapsed, Alt C. Oh, I'm here, but now this is active. Look at the title. The other one is grayed out. That means it's inactive. I'm here. Now he does Alt and 3 combinations. E, C, I. Alt E goes to edit. But if you go to edit, actually you're going to the element window again. So strictly speaking, you don't actually need to wait for the element, for the contents window to be active, to be focused. Because you will see the focus regardless. Then we did E. The next is, I think it was C. Add component. And then the underline is in the I. So this will create an image. Then, because now I have an image, now I can use Ctrl Q. And now I select the page, the image where it is, in my downloads folder, whatever that may be. If you want lossless. Another thing you can do is the clipboard. Perhaps he doesn't want to use a clipboard because James is using a virtual machine. And perhaps there are some limitations with this. I don't know. But regardless of that, what I suggest is to make your life a lot easier. If you have the templates, in this backup I have 19, okay. Even if you follow the minimum template principle, this stays true. That make your life easier. All your templates should have an image component. Usually your layout is wide enough. You have space that you're not using anyways. So instead, now let me actually force this. If I do article picture, that's my default. Even if I don't want pictures, I will use this one. Then for me, it's easiest going here manually and Alt Q. Or even regardless of that, if I want to press the clipboard, so now let's pretend that's the image I want. Let's say here's a script. And I go here. Now I have the element already. I have the component already. Nice, and I can name it. Cool. What if I don't have it? I have my picture, I have my article. Well, in my case, the article already has 2 images. Oh my god. So 1 second. I will detach template. Okay. So now I'm forcing the case that, hey, I don't have the HTML, right? Well, again, if I put this on my clipboard, any image will do. And I'm here. Well, now I'm in the component, so press escape. Now I have the element window active, focused, and I press paste from the clipboard. Already creates a component, an image component, and assigns the contents of the clipboard. The only thing is that I'm losing quality. It's compressing. As is easier to notice when it's actually text. So again, perhaps it's a limitation because of the virtual machine.
And ideas for other ideas and so on.
Now the question is why this is not working. Remember the error. Error at line 6. Oh, here you go. It's because this tried to import another file. sm_underscore windows underscore lib. This one here. We are lucky it's the very last one. Sorry, you don't see it. Here you go. The very last one that is seen in his file browser.
Whether to substitute their own ideas for other ideas and so on. Another of my goals in exploring this question was...
Okay, so it is just as simple that the directory was outdated. That's cumbersome, because imagine that you have this hard-coded in many files of AutoHotkeys. So, imagine that he has this URL hard-coded, and he renamed the folder. So all of the AutoHotkey scripts that use this and import the SM Windows lib will be broken. And he will have to manually update this. Oh my god. What you could do, without going to details, is to have this in one master file, and this will be kept. So you import the variable instead of having hard-coded the full path. Or don't use this strategy to begin with.
To see if I could justify my belief that creative output ought to be...
I hear you. Add image is the same as Alt-E to go to the menu, then C for components, and I for image.
The goal of learning, without tying it to market economy or capitalism. And by that I mean that it's quite easy to justify...
Okay, what happened here? Supermemo will remember the last directory you used. This actually happened to me. It's on record, but I didn't mention it. I thought it was not important. It will remember the last one you did. And what could happen is that the directory last used is no longer there. It doesn't exist. So it will ask you, hey, directory not found. Do you want to create it? If it's them, it doesn't matter to recreate it or not. It will make a difference because the image you want is not there. So it doesn't matter the whatever directory you have last used, it will not be there because it is not existing anymore.
And by that I mean that it's quite easy to justify the need to create...
Yeah, okay, so he does the lossless import. That is this one, and as you can see already, it's kind of time consuming and tedious to do.
Creative output when you live in a market economy.
And then what is meaningful that I haven't done is to create a meaningful name in the, as a registry member. So when you see in the image registry, oh yeah, I know what is this. It's not screenshot PNG, could be whatever.
Because you have to create output in order to make money.
You want to leave it in the original location. If you say no, you will remove that image. That depends on you. In this case, it's dummy. I only wanted this for this very same item. Feel free to do so. If it's something you downloaded and you could use this image in another place, then leave it there.
And satisfy your basic needs like food, shelter, and so on.
And you can see that he's spending quite a lot of time manually amending the placement of the components. Please use templates. Don't waste your time with this. If you really care about the size, that they want to maximize the image because of the ratio and all of that, and I cannot use CSS and I can't keep. It has to be fixed. So when it's fixed, the image can only be as big as the image component, regardless of the text and so on. Feel free. Piotr Wozniak actually have like more than 100 templates, and he has these things. That is the same template with a slightly larger image component and all of that. If you really like this, go for it, but use templates. You will save your time. The only thing you will need to do is Ctrl-Shift-M and apply the template. Instead of moving this, and on top of that, this is very, very prone to breaking because it's the template. So imagine when you switch computers with a different screen resolution, you could not apply, it's all over the place, yes, but because it's a template, you could update a template to fit this screen resolution or screen ratio, and all other elements will be affected. So at the worst case scenario, you will have to do it once per template. But if it's no template, you cannot do that.
I wanted to explore a sort of inkling I have about creative output sort of being a more fundamental economic requirement of a learner, if that makes
Way too much time. He's spending way too much time with the image. Let me actually do the... Let me see if I can get...
to...
Okay, no worries. It's with the blotting window, but it will be enough for the example. So you have the image. I use a clipboard. It will be lossy. Then, well, what is this? I cannot even read the text. It's so low quality. Interactions between nodes in the network. And my convention would be sharp illustration. It's something I did myself. Nice. Then I will just apply the template, article template. In my case, usually are quite small. Now, hey, I want to focus this, right? There's so much empty space in gray. Right click, image and crop. You need to zoom or trim the picture to define the margins, exactly as he did. You first need to zoom and trim. And now right click and crop. That means that, oh my god, 5K bytes only. That means that only this image will be existing. I'm modifying the actual image. So I can no longer zoom in and zoom out in different places of the image because I modified the image. If I reuse this image in different places, I have reused the image. I will be affecting everything because they are linking to the image. Remember that. If they are zoomed, nope, because it's the same image and then they zoom on the coordinates. So what I see could be different, but the entire image is the same. That's a big difference. And then later, in this case it's silly. It's not required, but you can also do this, compressed. In this case it's just 5 kilobytes, which I think is my record of smallest file size. But when you are into multiple megabytes, I suggest to do it. Because every time you load this element in Supermemo, in the element component, Supermemo will struggle. It will take a while. It will slow down. Based on experience, between 400, 500 kilobytes, it's more or less enough. When you go beyond that, it's possible that Supermemo slows down because of this.
Explore a sort of inkling I have about creative output sort of being a more fundamental economic system independent requirement of a learner.
Do you see it?
Economic system independent.
For him was
sort of being a more
279
economic
kilobytes,
system independent requirement.
42, I think. It goes way too quick. That implies that has more quality because he imported the screenshot instead of using the clipboard. Because remember, the clipboard is lossy, compresses, discards information. And in his case, even if it's recorded on video, we can already see that the text is more readable, has higher quality.
Of a learner, if that makes sense. And this is related to some of the...
How many times you resized the image or the HTML component? This could happen for some users. I know it's not his case, but it's related. That some user will get triggered. It's like OCD. This has to be perfect. According to my subjective criteria, has to be like, here is on point, And you spend a lot of time with this instead of the content, instead of actually loading. That's one con. And second, that it's triggering you. This will create anxiety and all of the negative effects. So use templates. And if you're starting with Supermemo, eventually spend some time with templates. Make how you want, even if it's all of my templates are very simple, and simplify it. I have some videos about that minimum template principle. I have 2 image components at all times. So I don't have to do I have the item and the item picture templates. But now I want, let's say this, in this color. It will be, I don't know, let's call science, the science template. Or now I have the science article. Now the science article picture, the science item, and you create so many. But I think the effect you are having is negligible. But the complexity you're adding and the cognitive load to select the templates is not worth it.
Ideas that I was talking about in my last incremental reading commentary, where I talked about knowledge valuation. I think that it's not sufficient to have pleasure as the goal of learning. I think there needs to be a meaningful goal, and I'd like to define meaningful goal as creating creative output and putting it into the real world. And the reason for...
So here the frame, one strategy, you can just leave the software there, even if you don't save it as an image. Especially if you use the clipboard, you don't need to save the file with a name. Remember that he deleted. He created the file as screenshot PNG, but once he imported this to Supermemo, he selected to get rid of the copy. That means that he no longer has this image. So if you leave this open, yes, you can still edit it, and yet save it yet again, or use it to copy and paste from clipboard.
That is that when you only use pleasure as the guide behind a learner's learning, it sort of leaves open the ability for anyone to justify any sort of absurd learning activity just by saying, oh, well...
He'll leave it in this case? Yes, he left that.
And to make it more concrete, you see a lot of people, for example, in the space repetition.
Yeah, it was 46 again, and now in half. Again, way too much trouble. You have too many steps for this. What's interesting is that the drawing is actually the same. He only added the frame. So he's kind of reusing his own illustrations, and he adds text. One of the things you could do, sometimes the text is quite relevant, but sometimes is what happens if I hover? If I hover, I see the name. Interactions between nodes in the network. So if I have the text here, it's like I have like a hint kind of thing that it is shown on hover. So if I invest my time naming my images in the image registry, I don't need to be on the screen. I can just hover and see those titles. I think perhaps it's a matter of taste. I want to get spoiled the least possible, to get the least primed as possible. It's not that it's wrong or right. Depends on your preference, your style, I guess.
Community, they will cram things like trivia for pub quizzes or just learn every country in the world.
But I would have done the same with a lot less time involved, and most of my time would have been actually naming the images.
Or things like that. And if your philosophy of learning sort of just has pleasure as the guide, then people can justify those sorts of things that seem absurd just simply by saying that they are pleasurable to do.
Finally, I can show that to you. You remember. Now, do you see that now in the knowledge tree, this topic now has a title? How so? Because the element window has been inactive when he imported the image. Therefore, when it becomes active again, it becomes updated. That's one. And second, why it was the timestamp if we go 5 minutes? Okay. If we go back, it's the timestamp of the creation, the element number, and then the name of the collection. So why the plan 2 that it was clueless? Well, now we know we go exactly at 5 minutes.
Are pleasurable.
That this is the name of his collection. And what's important is that between systems and elements is the name of your collection. In my case, it's just learning. So if we go back, we know that between systems and elements is Supermemo collection, the plan 2. It's a lot simpler than that, because if we take a peek at the top right, we already know the collection. It's called the plan 2. As easy as that.
To do. So I wanted a sort of better overarching goal for learning. That's really the motivation behind this, I suppose.
Exactly. And now we see the entire thing. The plan 2, it's the Supermemo systems, Supermemo collection, and then his collection. So in his case, he added a layer, a folder, called Supermemo-collection. That is actually not required, by the way.
So you have a society, and in the society, the society is arranged like a network. So each node in the network is like a person, and there are interactions between the nodes in the network. And I decided to define the interactions as they're sort of decisions to allocate a scarce resource that the node has. So each person has a limited amount of either time or attention. I guess you can define it how you want. And they have to decide on the basis of something, where should I direct my time and attention? And what drives their decisions to pick something to direct their attention to over something else would be primarily be the surrounding framework or prevailing dogma of this concept network or society, which itself is decided based on the interactions between the nodes. So still very abstract and probably doesn't make a lot of sense. Doesn't even really make a lot of sense to me, but I will push through and continue to add the rest of the stuff on these notes. So I've got through about half of the first one at this point, and I'm hoping future me can make this a little bit less.
The future me is what I also mentioned. I phrase it as my future self. Yeah, as an incremental reader, you'll communicate with your future self.
Obscure and opaque, but we'll see. Well, unfortunately, future me is still kind of confused, so just keep going, buddy.
Huh. Well, the iteration is not enough. You need more iterations. The incrementalism will take longer. That's it.
Oh, one other thing I'll do is I'll start splitting these things up into their own topics. So maybe I could have a topic for node, a topic for scarce resource, and just in that topic, just focus on that one thing, and then maybe have other topics that try to talk about
divide and conquer
the different components of this idea in relation to each other. So yeah, that's what I'll do now. I'll just start pulling everything out into its own topic. I found this is really useful in incremental writing. You take
incremental writing. So I didn't know that because he doesn't show the ancestors window, and the knowledge tree has too many siblings, so I don't know the next parent. So he's in his output folder. He's doing incremental writing. It's about output, not input. And he repeats the same thing. So remember what they said previously in the video. If you want all of these topics to really be siblings, start from the parent. Don't create them straight from the knowledge tree.
Take what you're going to write and you split it up into its component parts, and then you can actually reuse those parts in future articles, or you can turn them into their own article if they grow large enough.
And you can see he fully navigates manually. He every time clicks in the knowledge tree. You can use the key bindings as well, but other than that, it tells the flow that he doesn't do any subset, do the repetition, and when the repetition appears, you write, which is what you will expect. The premise, the basic premise of incremental writing is that you do the writing on the repetitions and you schedule this writing. So you are actually bypassing all of this and do it in a single session by manually going to those places. But James also do that with incremental reading anyways. So it's more likely that you will do it for writing than for reading. If you already do it for reading, it's more than guaranteed you will do it for writing as well, or even in a greater degree.
And it's just basically a really useful way to write in sort of a modular way.
Did you notice that now it doesn't update further? The title says network, nodes, and so on. That's because when it's manual, you created this manually, and you title it, you manually put a title, set a title, it becomes static. It no longer updates. It's good if that is what you want. So regardless of the content, it will stay the same. Perhaps for incremental writing, that's what you want. And you can contrast this with The Last Child. Prevailing dogma, and you see all of the content. Why? Because this title is automatic. It gets up to I don't know how many characters from the topic.
Oh man, okay, so we've got a really wacky programming analogy here that I'll write out and then try and explain.
Keep in mind he's familiar with coding.
So I think that when you are working...
So for him this works. This might not work for you. Depends if you're familiar with coding.
on something that you don't understand very well, it is very useful to
Object-oriented programming, okay.
create multiple sort of representations of the problem using domains that you're familiar with. So here I was attempting to express the ideas that I was having using code, and you saw me earlier using Paint, of course.
Yeah, code could also be pseudocode, that also works. So the class is a node and has the methods, assess value, allocated attention without parameters, and publish output.
Paint is an excellent tool for thought, tool for expressing poorly understood ideas. But yeah, I'm not sure actually how useful this was in the end.
You don't know today. You will know not tomorrow, but eventually in the future. And you will make a decision based on that. So this trial and error kind of thing, or experimenting, if you do this incrementally, this is absolutely awesome, because you can do as much A/B testing as you want for as long as you want, and the time investment is minimum. And the benefits you will take from that decision is the highest possible. Imagine that I decide to do this convention from now on, and I do this every single day. And then after 4 months, then, you know what? I reach a point that this is not useful. But yeah, I have invested for months. And then what? I have to convert my nodes from this convention to a new one. If I take it incrementally, I will have less staff using this convention. And I may have different conventions coexisting. An experiment that is A/B/C/D testing. So let's say that I decide a different convention that is not the code. It's not a big of a deal as before, because I only will have a small a subset of items or topics using this. So it's one of the side effects of incrementalism, even if that's not the point, that it's super friendly to experiment as well, and especially for conventions or anything that I have no clue if this will work. Let's shoot. We will see anyways if this will work or not. But if it doesn't work, yes, I will have lost some time. Well, invested some time with a positive outcome, but not as much. So feel free to experiment as much as you want with your collection. And if it's about not the methodology, about Supermemo collection specifically, do a backup and experiment on that backup. So if you mess up something that cannot be recovered, cannot be undone, you just continue with your genuine collection, not the backup. That's how I learned most of the stuff, especially things that run collection-wise and are not as transparent to see that, oh yeah, that's what I did. It's not easy to check. And by the way, he's doing all of this code with no syntax headlight. Yeah, I know it's not real code. But anyways, you only have the indentation, that's it. It's very crude.
Okay, we're going to try and explain actually what I'm doing now. What my idea is of the node in the society as a concept network thing. So, each node has a few abilities. You can think of them as, or behaviors, I suppose, right? Each node in the network can assess the value of something created by another node. Maybe that returns like, let's just say it returns true or false, whether the thing is worth them investing attention into it. So imagine the node, it sees some object created by some other node in the society. It calls assess value on that object. And on the basis of whether it's true or false, it can decide to allocate its scarce resource attention to that object. And it also has one other ability, which is to publish its own output. So I sort of see the allocate attention thing as an input process into the node, right? And then the node, does some thinking or whatever, and it starts to create its own output back into the society, which is probably going to be influenced by the, everything it's been allocating its attention to, right? And, the final part is it assesses value based on some value function, right? And the value function is substitutable. So, I think I'll move on to the concrete example and try to explain a little bit more actually what I mean.
This is just another example of trying to generate multiple representations to generate ideas about a problem you're trying to solve.
By the way, this also exists, incremental problem solving. Incremental problem solving is not just writing, as well as incremental brainstorming. That interruption is a feature. Usually people is, let me focus, I want to get this done, or what, to actually focus on this idea, develop this idea. Well, actually, if you want to do it incrementally, this is the distraction that people want to avoid, is desired, because it's actually needed. It's part of the incrementalism. You need to stop, move on, do something else, learn something else, or experience something else, sleep as well, you need to rest, and go back. And with iterations, you will get there. You will achieve the goal, because you require more knowledge. You have opportunity to get more knowledge. You need to rest because you get fatigue. You have an opportunity to rest and start fresh. And eventually your brain will have this creativity, because it's quite sad, but eventually you will realize you have to, and perhaps you already know, but to accept that creativity is quite random. That now, my brain had this idea. It's very hard to predict. So what you do is that you just get exposed to a lot of opportunities to have this creativity triggered, but you don't decide, if you know what I mean. So let's say that, hey, I cannot decide many things consciously, it's unconsciously. But I know that if I do this or if I do that consciously, it will have some effect in my subconscious. So let's say that I'm nervous. I'm waiting for someone, I'm impatient. I can use some techniques like the breathing, focus on the breathing, to lower my nervousness, to calm down. So it's me, my conscious is taking this action, this initiative with the intention that the subconscious will also be affected. So more or less it's this analogy. That, hey, I cannot do it myself. That, oh, wow, what a crazy idea I just had. Sometimes in a random moment, I was walking the dog. I was doing business in the restroom or whatever. In a context I was not expecting that idea, right? So what I do is I follow a regime, or I don't know how to call it. I follow a method that will maximize this creativity with incremental writing, incremental problem solving. So if you get frustrated, as he says, that I'm struggling, just wait for the incrementalism. That's it.
Here's my concrete example of a node, and the node is called a capitalist node, and its value function is a capitalist value function. So it assesses value, and when it assesses value, it asks the question, will allocating my attention to this object, units of input, and it decides the outside prevailing value function of society. It's me. What I'll do is I'll actually see if Woz has written anything on Supermemo Guru about this idea. Maybe
that's another aspect that I actually missed. That yeah, you do your own incrementalism, but during this incrementalism, as time passes and you leave time to pass its repetition, could be that someone else, like the authors you focused on, Andy and Piotr Wozniak, they could also develop or update their ideas or publish their ideas. So it's not static necessarily. So yeah, it's like a network that, hey, I'm building with my incrementalism, but others could also do the same. So my sources with this problem solving can also be updated, in the sense that, hey, I can update more staff, new sources, like he wanted to split this in different topics to focus every time in each section. So as I go through, oh, you know what, I have a whole, oh yeah, this other author speaks about this, and I get the knowledge that I require. But at the same time, the same knowledge, the same source that I had, he said 4 months. So 4 months ago, perhaps in this case was, as an incrementalist, he updated that idea, the article about this idea. So some cases, I will have the same source, just a more up-to-date version of that source, not necessarily new sources. That's a great point. And one very easy example is Wikipedia. So now, it's been very recent event that Trump assassination attempt and that Biden step out. So what's going to happen with those articles? As more details about the assassination attempt are known or are speculated, this Wikipedia page will have so many. Let me actually Google this. Wow, so it's in 68 languages already. If we go to the history, since it's very recent and it's very high profile, it will be updated very frequently. So this article in a few months, it will be very different from what it is today. And just look at the contributions. Every few minutes, there's an update or even removals. Assuming there are no edit wars because of political inclination, they will be massive. So this is how it looks today. Look at the extension, how massive this article is already. A lot longer than when I checked this Wikipedia page, which by the way was 20 minutes after this was public. So I was awake when this hit the news. And when I also checked the Wikipedia, it's already there. Oh my God. And the article was live for about 20 minutes last time I checked. So this is a good example. Obviously, it's like an outlier, but at some degree, if you spend 4 months, it's likely that in 4 months there could be some meaningful change. Especially if the article was quite recent.
yeah, I can start reorienting myself. Anyway.
When you're confused or stuck, I think it's important when you're using SM not to just sit still and do nothing. There are a billion things you can do in SM to push through a problem or push through a part of a problem that you're stuck on and to start moving in another direction. SM is really like an idea generation machine.
Exactly. Perhaps this is a bad habit acquired at school, but usually moving on is the best case, the best choice. Not because you're putting more time, that means it will lead to a better chance of success or better quality. Usually the opposite. Especially with coding. I don't know where's the bug, I don't know how to get this specifically. You move on, you come back next day, not necessarily next day, but let's simplify. And then, oh wow, I could solve this a lot easier. I could identify the bug now. Because you have slept in between memory consolidation, you have forgotten details, and you have switched context as well. This is required because you will build fatigue, you won't see this in a lucid mind, so not a big deal. And with Supermemo, because of priorities, the knowledge tree, concepts, and so on, you can manage many problem-solving flows in parallel. And managing the reading, the learning you require for those problems in one single collection. So you can also interleave those as much as you want, how you want. So overall, when you use this method, incremental reading or incremental learning, the limiting factor is either the time, the physical time you have in a day, and your stamina, that your brain is super tired already of all of the information processed.
In a lot of ways.
And I tell you this from experience because I also code, and I have experienced that in many different domains, especially coding. So incrementalism is always a victory. The question is not if I will win or not, if I will succeed or I will fail. The question is about when I will succeed. The victory is unavoidable. It's just a matter of when you will win.
And I think I made a real mistake by not doing something like a subset review or just doing a search and review.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned in my reaction. He didn't do not any subset review, anything. He only manually navigated different siblings within the same concept group. Even though, strictly speaking, the concept group is still empty, if you know what I mean. That all of the topics are no group, because he created the elements manually, just to refresh this. Or in case you are watching this part of the video, in a different day. If I do this, no, and topic, it's no group. So everything he has here, inside the knowledge tree, inside the branch, is actually no group. So if you go to search concept registry, and you select this one, and you want to know how many elements have the society as a concept network set, the answer is none. None. Because all of those are no group. Keep that in mind. If you do a subset review, okay, because it's physical. You go by the branch, they will be there. But if you go neural, the link here will only be of the replacement. That's it. They don't have this concept. You cannot navigate this semantically. It's no group. It's empty.
Or even a neural review, for example, of network science, graph theory.
So remember this fact.
I could have done microeconomics or just anything. Instead, I sort of let everything just stop, you know?
Sometimes it's fine. If you feel that you're blocked and so on, perhaps it's more psychological, how you feel apprehended. You just move on to something unrelated. That in his collection it's not in the screen, but could be Chinese that he does, or incremental video, and watch a YouTube video about something unrelated. Within the priority range, so something that is high priority, or just click on learn. Just follow your sorting criteria and what pops. And if what pops up is unrelated enough, go with it. Perhaps later today you will be able to focus on this again, or next day. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. You won't run out of things to do in Supermemo.
Okay, I'm going to take a break and try and do some more thinking before I actually do any more of this writing. All right, we'll be back in like 10 to 15 minutes.
Okay, so his breaks are about 10 and 15 minutes. Good to know.
All right, so I'm back. One thing I'm realizing is that SM is very good, or perhaps not even SM, just writing down ideas that you think are good. It's good practice because sometimes you realize that they aren't very good.
What?
Or they aren't.
Wait.
It's good practice because sometimes you realize that they aren't very good.
Yep. You overestimate that, and then you realize, what is this? You hugely overestimated the value, and what is this shit? I didn't want to say this word because in YouTube I also get these words censored.
Or they aren't very well understood. Like you don't understand your own ideas. So
yeah, you don't even understand that. I do recall that other day, could be yesterday, that, oh yeah, that was very clear in my mind. I have this idea that, yeah, it was very abstract. I did my quick notes. I want to have my quick notes. I read them, and it's, what? That doesn't make sense. But I'm unable to go to that mental state I was before, because I have forgotten the details. I'm unable to go there mentally. So how you write notes is for your future self, or future me, as he said. So this is a skill that you will communicate that, hey, this is enough, it's good enough for me to understand it. I know, I'm pretty sure I will understand this. Even if it's not tomorrow, it's in half a year, 4 months, as was his case, or in 2 years. The longer you shoot, the more likely is that there will be more distance and will be harder to understand. And if you are like a maniac like me, that I'm very, very strict with conventions, it's super easy. It becomes a lot easier to do. But don't take my example, because I'm already like this. I was already like this before Supermemo, before incremental reading, before spaced repetition. I was already like this. For me, it's very easy. I will stretch it that even if I had no software at all, I will have this in my, I'll have this personality trait regardless. It's like innate. I want more. I did conventions since I was very little, so. And more importantly, I usually followed them. And if I don't follow them, then it's for a reason, and then I update my conventions and stuff like that.
Watching the recording back, I actually disagree with my former self.
Golden nugget right there. One of the pros of recording yourself, even if you record and you don't talk, for instance, could be that I record an hour of footage and I only speak for 5 minutes on that footage. It is still useful. And even if we take it to the extreme and I don't talk, there's even no microphone. So there's actually no physical mean that I can record my voice, but I can record the screen regardless. It still has some value. I recorded, especially kind of the beginning, I still recorded myself my own sessions. And sometimes even pretending to, like I do now, some for YouTube, but only for me. Like when you report a bug, let's say from a software, but for yourself, not for the developer. Because hey, this is a video I do for myself. Not for myself, for my future self. There's one example that I can think of. Well, I won't play the video, I don't want to risk the copyright strike. So Mr. Beast in 10 years. So you record the video, like, could be more metaphorical, an exercise that you do every year. That hey, in 10 years, I want to do this, that, and I see myself as having this, having that, or be that, right? I see myself living there with that kind of home, having a family with a daughter of 4 years, whatever that may be. Your projections. You could do this very granular, very specific for what are you learning. Because sometimes what you want is, hey, let me try if I have understood this enough. So I speak it out loud in a video. And then for me, this exercise alone already helps sometimes. Sometimes I discover some holes during my YouTube videos, recording my YouTube videos. Then I learn some details and I shoot the video again. Sometimes it's a video that it's never for YouTube, it's just for me. Then I see it 4 months later, a year later, and it's wow. First, I forgot 99% of what I did or what I said in that video to begin with. It's more than notes. You don't have some text that you encoded for your future self. It's just the raw footage of your past self, writing this down, thinking aloud, reading, whatever that may be that you did that day. This is massive. I even considered having a secret YouTube channel that I will only have private videos. Only I have access to that YouTube channel. And basically are those recordings. So I could see those recordings anytime, and I will see the date when it was uploaded. So I see what was recorded before some other video, the time span, and so on. I won't have to worry about space in my hard disk and so on. So going back to what he said, by the way, because now I actually forgot.
And watching the recording back, I actually disagree with my former self.
You can disagree with your past self. That is awesome. That is awesome. When you make a realization, hey, why do I disagree today with this, with myself, with my past self? It's because today I have more knowledge than before. It's because now I could test my hypothesis. Something has changed. But what I did is a learning experience. Something has changed. And sometimes you just need iterations. I will be wrong. I will be then wrong in a different way. I will disagree. Be wrong yet in a third way. And eventually, I see the light. Now everything makes sense. Something that perhaps I created items. And I remembered items for a couple of months or years to later realize this is actually wrong. This is wrong. Then what I will do is I will delete those items, or I will keep those items, but I will first reformulate them and reset the interval. Why? Because I want to remember that. I want to remember that I was wrong with this. Why? Because I don't want to repeat the same mistake, for instance. Or if I want to share this with someone else, because it's so high priority for me, that when I want to share this, I want to remember my mistake. Because now, if I only provide you the solution, it's not enough. That's what I did. That's what I thought. That was the mistake I did, and that's the solution. So sometimes it's complex enough that, hey, I need to remember what I did. Because we forget. And I don't know, let me know if that's the case, that perhaps it takes certain personality. Because I put a lot of videos online with my face and my voice, yes. But you also have my collection, but more importantly, my thoughts. But what I'm leading to is that I also have lots of mistakes, but I keep them online. Usually people, especially the ones that have a well-schooled mind, the bad habits from the school, is no, let me hide those mistakes that no one can see it. No one can see them, right? Why do I still have videos in my channel? Let me go to my channel. Content. Why do I have videos from 4 years ago, 2020? And if you play those videos, it's super cringy because I speak so slowly, with so many mistakes, broken English. It's painful to watch for me. But I did it because I wanted to share the experience, and also one of the points was actually practicing speaking English, by the way. But regardless of that, it's because the content is still relevant, and I haven't did a second go. In some cases I did. I created a brand new video that I think is more to the point, better quality, and so on. Or sometimes what I say is not necessarily these kind of things, like my reaction videos. So I'm more precise because I'm more knowledgeable. And a side effect, I pronounce better because I increased my English proficiency with this incrementalism. But why I leave this if it's painful to watch and if there are so many mistakes? Because I don't mind. Because a free learner learns from mistakes. So it's even the opposite. Is please watch this, and if you follow if you realize a mistake, please let me know. The mistake could be about Supermemo. Like some details, I have one from Supermemo itself from Winston when I did a video for what was that? Script components, like this one. Hey, yeah, the script component also is inherited. Oh yeah, there was a major overlook. Because what happens is, yeah, I know how it works, but I lack the real genuine experience of this because I don't use this script. So I had some overlooks. So instead of, oh shoot, let me put this private, let me reshoot the videos, like some YouTubers it was me that I dropped the comment to help the YouTuber. Hey, that's actually it's not what you think. Something like that. Hey, that's a golden nugget for me. Super thank you. No. They just remove. Because then I go again, my notification, and the video it's made private. Not even unlisted, set as private. And then after a few days, boom, the same video is released with some changes. Like they are ashamed of that. So please welcome your mistakes. As a free learner, and especially as an incrementalist, it's almost your daily jam is to realize mistakes you did before. Disagree with your even beliefs. I believe that. I believe that the school system was the best choice for me. If I wanted to learn computer science, the best thing I could do is to enroll to computer science degree, a bachelor degree, which I don't share today. That's not exactly, I don't believe this today. So having this system, having this experience very often is actually super positive. And if you're willing to share this to the world and learn in public, you can optimize your learning experience. You can boost your learning experience. But yeah, you will make your mistakes public as a consequence.
And I think the idea is perfectly workable. And I think that I started to get tired and confused simply just because I let my train of thought sort of sit still, rather than providing some sort of stimulus and sending it in another direction in the form of a subset review or a neural review. So I think that was the real problem.
Yes, because it's called incremental writing or incremental brainstorming. Where's the incrementalism here? How many repetitions? According to Supermemo, how many repetitions you have done in this session? So far, none. Because every time he only has the one rep, the automatic rep, when he created the topic. That's it. You never click learn or force the repetition with Ctrl-Shift-R. So strictly speaking, Supermemo in the calendar view will show 0 repetitions. Done. Where is the incrementalism here?
So guys, that's going to be it for today. Sorry this was so incoherent. Hopefully I can make another follow-up video in the future where I can explain it better. But also, hopefully it was interesting just to see someone struggle with an idea, rather than it just be me,
Exactly. And this comes full circle as wrapping up this video. Is first, learning in public. Then, what I mentioned at the beginning, that hey, the second incremental reading commentary was successful. And the third is like the opposite, right? So you see different workflows, different ways. But yes, it also takes an free learner and some, not I want to say value or courage, but acceptance that hey, if I put this online, I'm exposed, right? That hey, I did mistakes or something that is not optimum. The average person, especially if it's in the academia or in the school system, will not want to upload this video, that they are struggling to understand a concept or to learn, or whatever the purpose there is. They are recording themselves to fail or not to achieve their goal, to struggle. Not a big deal. For instance, here, before I noticed that he had a typo, universal, like an hour ago. Not a big deal. And in my videos, you will see even more typos than him. Not a big deal.
Already having pre-formulated everything and understanding it perfectly. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed it anyway, and I'll see you in the next video.
See you incrementally. So that was all for the third video. And yeah, I hope my 2 cents were useful, and see you incrementally.